I've just installed a new set of coilovers on my car, so let's have a look at what the adjustment options are and how to make them. For most coilovers, this is going to be damper, camber, and height adjustment. So starting with the easiest, which is damper. Now, most coilovers will have a single adjustment for both the compression and the rebound. Essentially, this allows you to adjust the firmness of the ride. So from a very hard setting, which you might use in a performance or track scenario, to a softer setting for the street. So obviously the softer setting is going to be more comfortable, but it's going to allow more body roll, whereas the firmer setup is going to be a little less comfortable, but it's going to minimize body roll. So I've got MCA Pro Sports. They've got 12 clicks of adjustment. This is going to vary between coilover brands, but essentially you can hear it click as you adjust it. So MCA have provided me with a couple of different specs and setups for just everyday street driving and more performance based. And they've recommended 10 clicks for the front for street, starting from all the way clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But you can adjust it as needed. The performance setup they had was 6 clicks. Now you just need to make sure that the setup is the same on the fronts and the same across the back. So with the car jacked up and on a jack stand and with the front wheel off, I can now make some camber adjustment. Camber refers to the angle of the wheel and how it sits up and down. So this is the outside of the wheel. This would be sort of level, that's no camber. And then if you had it leaning to the outside, that would be positive camber. And then if you have it leaning inside like that, that's negative camber. And typically you'll run a little bit of negative camber as it improves handling in corners. And also, like the situation on the back of this car, a little bit of camber is going to help the tyre and wheel, because it's bigger, tuck in under the card as the suspension compresses. So now I'm going to undo these 4 Allen bolts. And then what I can do is use the guide markings on here. So there's a whole bunch of lines. They're at 1mm increments on this coilover, and then they've got the bigger ones which are at 5mm, and according to MCA's instructions, every 5mm is roughly equal to half a degree of camber adjustment. I've also got a center mark on the guide rule, and then there's a marker on the inside section that shows where your setting is. So then if I reach under the car and grab the coilover, I can shift it to the position I want. So by shifting the top of that in towards the center of the car, I'm adding negative camber. So I'm going to move it along 2 lines, 2 of the bigger lines from the center point, which should be 2 increments of half a degree, so a degree of camber. And then I can tighten this back down. And these don't need to be crazy tight, they just need to be tight. Now it's important to do the same camber adjustment on the other side on the front left. And when changing camber and height, it's good to get a wheel alignment, whereas that's not needed for just the damper adjustment. You can check the camber with one of these camber gauges, but I would take the reading with a grain of salt. The third adjustment is height, and it's probably one of the biggest reasons that people put coilovers in street cars. Now, mine have been preset by MCA based on the specs that I was going for and the way I was using the car, but I do want to raise it a little bit. I'm getting a bit of scrubbing, so in addition to adding a bit of camber in there, I'm going to add a few mil of height into the rear of the car. So I can take a bit of a measurement there to get a baseline for where that guard's sitting at the moment. Now, the way you adjust MCA coilovers is a little bit different to some other brands. So we've got the spring perch here, and then you've got a lower locking ring here. Often you'll have another locking ring beneath the spring perch, but these don't have that. MCA are very clear that you don't use the lower ring and you just use the spring perch. A lot of other coilovers will also have another locking collar beneath there. But first off, I want to take a measurement of the existing height, and a pair of digital calipers will be your best friend for this. I guess they don't have to be digital, but a pair of calipers. Base height there, it's about 83.5 6.6. So I want to increase that by about 5 mil. So with the MCAs, you loosen this Allen bolt in here. And then you can twist this. They do provide a special spanner for adjusting if needed, but you can often just adjust it by hand. And there I've added about 5 mil. So I can then tighten this down. So that's the height adjustment all done. You can see I've got a bit more gap in here. And if I measure it, I've got about that 5 mil extra that I was going for. Plus I've added a bit of camber, so hopefully we'll avoid the scrubbing. It's a good idea to take the car for a quick drive for a couple of minutes just to let it settle and then check everything again. Also got to make sure that the back is set up the same with the same settings and the front is set up the same. And now that I'm all set, it's time for a wheel alignment.